You know,
Theater.
she was a superintendent.
Yeah.
Perhaps get her to look the services and then show us. We can get random or something that I'll show you that time. Independent. What you do. It's really just hearing that. So the dress was got to turn that stuff down.
Yeah.
They don't have it, but we. So it's whole objective is to try to provide as many services as possible, resources. How do you?
Mr. Jackson, you need to turn your speakers on. Thank you.
Yeah, no, Mitch, no, you should come. Livingston side, I know you don't see. You guys never
figure out why I can't get, like, I'm contacting him and updates periodically. Right. So, but I can't force it up, to my email once it's donated.
You can't force your email,
Like I've got, use it, like I've got Outlook,
right?
and I've got two personal.
Yeah, now you can't sell it.
And I want to get my county one to update on a regular basis. I think I'm on like 26 or something.
Yeah, well, bring it on over when you got time. We shall figure that out.
If anybody can do it, it's
Hey, well, y'all got me.
it's good to have people fix stuff.
Why you give them a big raise?
No, I'll take suffering.
I'm having so much fun, I'm gonna give some back.
Here you got it.
Yeah,
Got a new what?
Got everything going.
and then, you know, as we talked.
Down here? Yeah, everything's looking good.
Trailer.
We're actually in standby mode, waiting for some more work to be done, and then just give us the move-in date, we'll go live the week before.
How much did John Shears spend on this note? You hear that?
On the modem?
Right.
So John Shears called.
Correct.
Said,
Yeah.
this thing on Thursday.
Yeah.
He called me on Tuesday night. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm putting this thing on, I'm spending a little bit of money.
And another.
I was like, okay. The fire hall needed a little bit heavier modem so that we could get Wi-Fi on different computers. What do you think it was? I think it was like 150 bucks. Okay, buy the damn thing, let's move on. Come on now.
Get shots in people's arm, I don't care if I'm wearing or not, John Deere.
Yeah, they come a lot more expensive than that.
But it's trivial,
Like
like
other things, different classes to get congregated.
I
You
had,
see, they got 417 shots, so that equates to about
So now Anna's talking, bringing that.
38 cents an arm, you know. You like my headline?
I didn't say.
There goes
It says something like, Madison County gives citizens shots an arm.
God's sake. No, I give them, credit. 417 out of a population of 13,230. That's a pretty sizable percentage of people that have gotten shots. I mean, that's fine. Thank John Shear.
Someday I might get mine.
You're out.
Did he say something like that?
Right.
No, that's not what he said.
Yeah, we gotta get them. And see,
We're hoping to
Anna
find
now, blending the classroom.
I don't know if my wife will.
Yeah.
Or maybe she would.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe she would.
It's a building.
I'd like to call board supervisors to order. He's going to join us later. As always, let's start with pledge of allegiance and moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do have an agenda in front of us. Anybody got anything we need to add to it? We do have a closed session. Got anything to add, Holly?
No, sir, this is a little bit different than what we circulated. Closed session at 4:30. At 5 o'clock, Mr. Gallo has the broadband. Schedule.
You don't want to.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Public comment. Public comment. Livingston, we are not doing well on public on the go to the meeting platform. You and me.
I don't think, yeah,
You got anybody on the Vimeo deal or whatever?
one watching now.
Oh, all right. Anybody? All right, done with that. Let's start with budget presentations. Boys and Girls Club.
That would be me.
This man, Ms. Coppage.
Today with me is Kate Landry again from the Charlottesville Central Virginia office, the Boys and Girls Club. We want to really thank you all for the $125,000 CARES Act money. That was a real blessing to us. We didn't know where our money was going to come from. We did get some generous donations, which enabled us to stretch out the CARES money a little bit. We've asked for the extension as of December 31st, and we spent $83,000 of the $125,000.
What was the date?
December 31st. So then we're looking forward to, okay, what's the next year? Finishing out fiscal year 21 and planning for 21-22. We made a request for $10,000. I think, you know, we've worked really well and closely with the school system. They, of course, are letting us use the building at Raymond Yale. The focus is on academic support. They're working with the teachers and the kids. They have a little kids room and a bigger kids room. And then have a program to work with people virtually. It's open 4 days a week from 7:30 to 5:30, so it's full days. This has been a real different approach for Boys and Girls Club from our usual practice. So it's taken a lot of flexibility on everybody's part to get this going and to keep it going. And we're excited that they are there and that the kids are coming. Due to the space, we can only do about 30 kids a day. So we have one set that comes Monday, Tuesday, and another set that comes Thursday, Friday. And that's the days that they're not in school. Looking for the next year or two, we don't know what our funding abilities will be. We canceled the 21-30, so we know that's out, and that, of course, is our biggest fundraiser. So we're asking for $10,000 from the county, and I'm here to answer any questions. And Kate, if I can answer it, she can.
What did we give you last year?
2,000, which we appreciate.
Start from the get-go. I am kind of upset about the 125 and Joel only used 83K of it. We didn't hold any, and we know about the revised MOU going back and forth on. We were looking for kind of more accurate numbers, man. And that's, it's disheartening to hear, well, we need 125, we need 125 to keep going. And it turns out you're basically 42K positive, and that's not what the intent of the CARES money was for. So it does, seems like it's a little, it's a problem is what it is. I mean, I hate to say it like that, and I know y'all do good work in schools, and emphasize to us, please fund you, and we certainly did, but then we come back and you're 42K, and that's a lot of money. That we could spread around in a little bit different way. That's hard for us.
Yeah, it makes it awkward for us to come and ask for it too. We got some money that we didn't know we were gonna get, and some of it has restrictions. So we were thinking, okay, we'll spend the bulk of it, but if we can stretch that a little bit further, we'll do that. So it makes it a natural funding streams. it will be spent.
We're sure of that.
And I guess it could probably answer that part a little bit better since it's the Charlottesville office that determines what actually gets paid. But we're trying to kind of stretch money we got in hand when other money came in, make it all last as far as.
We could have spent all the funds, but it would have been at the expense of, foregoing some other more restricted funds. We knew that this extension was a likelihood and that it was coming. And we could have gone back and allocated expenses for the fall. We elected not to, knowing that this extension might be coming and that we could request the extension so that we could use the unrestricted funds in the fall. And we knew, we knew when we requested the 125, we knew then what we knew then, just like everybody else. And then we got some additional sources of funding, and we just want to maximize the funding that we have, and if we can extend, it would be great.
To avoid something, is there anything else we could have done?
No, I mean, no other real departments. And there were a couple, Noah sitting back here and he had a delay on the truck. I'd assume it's coming here, there you go. And that was a manufacturer's problem. The assumption that there was going to be this continuation, everybody thought that was restricted funds. It was supposed to be spent by 12/31. And when y'all asked for it, it was, we need this to stay open till we get to this point. That is very restricted funds. I don't know how much more restricted it could be. And then to make the assertion that, well, we had ones that were more restricted, and I have a problem with that, I'm sorry. Everybody else, we scrutinized like crazy, but we gave y'all significant amount of money, $125,000. It's problematic. I'm sorry, it bothers me. And I'm not saying y'all don't do good work, and we know what value you bring to the community, especially with one of our bigger issues is childcare at this point. And the schools do, and Anna Graham out there is just as good as she could be. And her recommendation comes with a tremendous amount of weight. But $42,000 is a bunch of money, and that's a real problem for me. It just sounds disingenuous.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. When we were going through the allocations, if you will, of the money, the first ideas was we got to take care of county operations and county departments and county needs first. And then this came up, and I was on the school board meeting the night when we were trying to decide whether we should look at the $125,000 request for Boys and Girls Club. I went on there and I asked the school board and Anna Graham and Dr. Jones to all chime in, tell me whether you all think this is a good use of funds. They said absolutely it is. Okay, so I came back here and I pushed for it. And then, we were all kind of up in the air, but then we finally all agreed that we would do this. Mainly based on, I think, was the school board and Anna Graham and them. Okay, so the idea is we need $125,000 to get us through December 31st. Okay, let's do it. And now I'm gonna have a hard time telling them, telling the Noahs of the world and Roger Berries of the world that you all didn't really need that, because we have identified other needs within the county since then that could have used those funds. So I'm in the same spot. I work for Skyline Cap. We've got CARES Act COVID funds that are going to expire at the end of February. We're trying to figure out how to spend that money. But we were given that money. We didn't apply for it. But our plan to use that money changed, and it is what it is. We're gonna lose about $55,000 at the end of February because the mental health person that we thought we were going to use for all the 3 and 4-year-old Head Start kids, they couldn't fulfill their obligation. So it is, that's the way it is. So I'm with Clay. Our funds were as restricted in my mind as anybody else's funds. I deal with restricted funds at Skyline all the time. If I had donors coming in, I would ask them if, tell them we've got restricted funds coming from the county, and would you consider changing your restriction to some other date or some other use or whatever it is. So I'm not inclined to extend it.
And man, it just looks skewered when you think you so desperately needed the money. And we had other people asking for more money, and we cut a lot of those really down, part of them really good. And then now it's like, you don't even need all that. So it's just not, it just looks skewered, it's just not right.
Now, what do you guys plan on, the 42 that's left, we extended it, what do you plan on using that for?
Yeah, that is gonna get us through the spring and the summer.
So that's to extend,
And
so-
we didn't know how long this was gonna go on. We didn't know it was gonna go on 3 months or 6 months and so, we didn't know that the one-time sources of funding were gonna come online. So, yeah, we're gonna use it to stay open all day. It's a different model than we.
yeah, that's
normally
what my question, because I know the summer's coming and that's typically all day,
do.
and what kind of funding, you guys are looking at for staying open all day. Will you have the same schedule? I mean, where kids can only come part-time because you can only serve 30? How does that look?
We don't know what it's gonna look like yet. We are following the lead anagram in the school system. And we're gonna base our model on what the academic needs of the kids are and what the social and emotional needs of the kids are.
But what about the summer?
Our plan is to be open all day during the summer.
Okay.
Which is typically our most expensive time. But we're anticipating that we'll still be in COVID operations through the summer. That's what we're planning for now.
Okay.
But again, we're in touch with Anagram about that.
Sorry to give you all a hard time. It's I mean, we're looking at it, we've held everybody else to one standard, and then we've got a different standard here, and that just seems crazy. And we know about what other counties have done, where they've rolled it into payroll, trying to get rid of it and use their surplus funds differently. We're not saying spend them at an accelerated rate that is ridiculous, but it's just a hard deal. I mean, we know the value you bring to the community. We appreciate it a bunch, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about actual dollars. We're restricted and we're requested and insisted upon that this is a necessity.
And it was, we didn't mislead you, we did need the money when we asked for it, and I'm sorry that we've let you down. I'm sorry that maybe some other groups didn't get the money, but I think our staff was looking at, or the central community staff, that here it is coming at the end of December, we began talking, will there be an extension? And when we heard that there might be an extension for CARES money, we began to look at, we've got this many dollars and this many dollars. We have to spend these by here. This could help us. We're not going to have the Derby as a fundraiser. If we could spread this CARES Act money over a few more months, then that would help us in getting our money to go through the spring and the full day summer program. So we had what we thought were the best financial practices. It is bad when y'all are looking at Madison County businesses and groups that need money. I understand that. But we didn't mean to be misleading or let you down. We thought we were doing the best decision making with the money that we had.
We do need the funds to continue what we're doing.
That was my next question. So the 42, if we didn't extend it, what would happen to the spring and summer program? you know, are you gonna have to service less kids? Is it,
I mean, it's possible we couldn't stay open as many hours. Or we have to serve fewer kids and hire fewer staff. We would have to.
and staffing is already an issue, right? I
And
mean,
what's already an issue?
staffing, I mean, that's part of the problem why you can only serve 30 kids, right? Is
And our director will be going out on maternity leave in March for a while, so that'll be a break in the program. She's really dedicated to the kids and the programs, but it'll be a switch and a change.
All right. Any other questions? Thank y'all.
Bye.
I'll just roll through some of these, or you want to roll through these, or do you mind if we skip some of these?
You know, these are more fill-ins. If you look at the list that Jacqueline put together, back to it, the ones that are shaded or ones that she had hard schedules for.
Sure.
So the rest of us are filling in.
I was just thinking, if we can get Noah out of here.
Okay.
And I mean, you're okay company, but we would like to get you out of here. You mind?
No, sir.
Anybody? No, come on, tell us stuff.
Good afternoon. Can y'all hear me okay? I know I'm soft-spoken, so if I get to talking too quietly, just say speak up. The first thing before I get into my budget request, at the recommendation of Jack, back in the October board meeting, presented a request for a preventative maintenance extended warranty on one of the trucks, Medic 20. I got an invoice from the vendor and it didn't match that amount, and reviewing the minutes, I don't feel comfortable on getting approval. So that's what I'm coming back to y'all for. So this is for Medic 20. It's in the amount of $6,750. It's a 72-month, 200,000 mile, and it covers the bits and pieces that we have shown that fail in an ambulance, and the deductible is $100. So transmission, big items there.
What the heck is this now? Is this now a packet, or are you looking for like a vote today on this?
So again, I
Part of the
was,
budget request, I mean.
it on this paper right here?
no,
So this is a different.
Yeah.
Item. It was, he
All
was
right.
trying to clean up.
No, it's fine. I'm gonna keep up with you. What did we budget for this previously?
so my recollection, it was approved, but I can't find the approval, and I don't want to go spending the
In
money
October.
without that.
Anybody?
And this is when we approved the full-time lieutenant, the
Yeah.
deputy chief, that meeting.
Oh.
So
I remember that meeting well, not at all. So 60, you need 67K for this extended warranty for an ambulance.
$6,750.
All right.
6,750, that's all.
But you get a phone call from Nebraska?
Not yet.
Not
I'm sure it's
that one,
coming.
all right, this is legitimate. All right, so you just want approval for the extended warranty?
Yeah, I don't have the money in my budget for this.
Is this on one of the new vehicles?
It's on our first ambulance that we bought, Medic 20. That was the one that we got the 80/20 RSAF grant for.
So you,
Oh.
So this is
Not the ambulance.
yeah.
not the ambulance. This is the extended
Chief-
warranty.
Chief vehicle.
No, the ambulance.
Right there.
That's for the one that you got last year?
Yeah.
FY 20.
No, exactly. All right, we don't.
Jay's good with this. MJ, you're good with this? You got it?
I mean, if you wanted.
So you think we approved this in October, but.
That was my understanding.
Okay, we'll do it again, yeah. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the preventive maintenance plan on Medic 20 in the amount of $6,750.
Second,
Motion made, second. Further discussion? Yes, ma'am.
So I would just ask, so we did
for non-payroll accounts, we just did a supplement a couple of weeks ago based on a spreadsheet sheet that I gave you that asked you how much more you needed. That 6,750 was not in that number.
That is correct. This came up this week.
All right, so we would do a supplement at next week's meeting, sometime soon after.
How about next Thursday? My supplements are done.
Are you good with next Thursday?
Whatever
Oh,
y'all
we're not
want
gonna have a
to do.
meeting next Thursday. Well, no, we're off next
This
Thursday.
could look till.
We-
We don't have a meeting next?
No, ma'am. We've got, you got a little bit of
Well, then I'll
time.
do it. I mean, I can give you another one. I'll do this too.
All right,
So there's no budget meeting next Thursday?
no, ma'am. Everybody's off. Everybody's gonna be happy.
Why?
What? We've had too much
No.
fun in these last 3 days. It's gonna be a great time.
Let's give them a
Well,
nice day.
I'll do this for next, I'll add it to the, I've already done my supplements for next week. But
All right, but we can get you, motion's on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Before we go too far, everything, you've ordered with CARES money, including the last ambulance is in?
It is. There's a story on the last ambulance. I won't talk about it now, but I will say that it's in. Everything is working fine. We're getting it outfitted appropriately. I hope to have it done by the end of this month.
Do you have it?
Yes,
So you haven't asked us for a check for it yet?
I sent that last week.
You did? I haven't seen that.
All right, get her a
Yep.
bill.
I'm happy to resend it.
Do you already have the
281.
title?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I sent it to the, yeah.
I'll talk to Andy about it.
All right, good, I'm glad, thank you.
Yep.
Let's go into your budget request, Rob.
All right, so this is detailed, but as you know, the EMS budget is kind of, it's everywhere. And MJ and I have been meaning to get together. We haven't had a chance to do that. But I want to briefly just go through each line item, and I'll be as quick as I can. I'll start with saying that we're fully staffed as of yesterday. So just to give a quick rundown, we have 4 lieutenants, 2 part-time lieutenants, 18 full-time medics. The medic overtime, I'm not going to read each bullet point, but the pandemic, if I lose a bunch of folks, that could increase overtime. It's kind of fluent. So far, we've done well. We've also seen a decline with the volunteer coverage, added shifts, added hours there. So that's going to impact our overtime. We have 16 part-time medics. I did start a 12-hour a month required work time for our part-time folks. And that's mainly just to make sure that people are in the game and they know how to do the job. We've had folks that once every 6 months they might work, and it also helps on payroll. 3110 employee medical expenses. With the addition of the random drug screening program, and then additional personnel on our side and also the volunteer side, it's between $800 to $900 per person to get an annual physical. And I think this is really important to make sure our responders are healthy and safe. The medical director, I do have one correction here. We have 47 providers, not 59. But as you can see, our medical director fee will go up by $1,000 for any providers over 40. So for every 10 providers above 40, it goes up 1,000. I don't expect that to be going up much more. 3114, the ambulance billing service. So all of our runs are now put together, volunteer runs, career runs. Each quarter that's reviewed, and the work that MCRS has done, they will get the revenue for that. And I just wanted to make sure the board was aware of that with the MOU. 3166 training services, again, with added personnel, that means added training, making sure our folks are up to speed. We've used UVA Life Support Learning Center, which offers a lot of the courses we need for free, but due to COVID, they're not doing the in-person classes, so we've had to resort to online training there. 3323, this is a big one. So all of our stretchers, cardiac monitors, CPR devices, they need preventative maintenance to make sure they're in operable condition for calls. That's $37,595.97 for this year. And that's a good number to estimate for future years to come. And we've spent a lot of time inventorying and everything, making sure that we've got that number 100% on that. The rest of these, printing, advertising, postal services, I'm not really going to talk about. That's straightforward. Telecommunications, there is a huge push for telemedicine through Culpeper. So we have what are called cradle points in our ambulances, so the physicians and paramedics and EMTs can talk. So there's going to be an increase on that. Vehicle insurance, we've added 2 ambulances and 2 response cars, so that line will go up. We're saving money on rent by $100. That was a new deal with the generator. David James didn't want to pay for propane, so now we're picking up the propane tab, and that's new, so I don't know what that cost will be yet.
Is there a spreadsheet that goes with these?
I think that's what I'm trying, I've got these definitions, which is very encompassing. I think you've got to go to the second file, and you need to go to 04, which is FY22 budget request, and I assume that the page numbers line up on it. 159. Everybody else ahead of.
Where are we?
There was 2 files on that zip drive or that stick. Go to the one.
Oh, okay.
And it's the file is the budget work session 3 that has the agendas in it. Go down to 04, it's got 171 kilobytes, almost 172. That's the file to work off of.
And MJ, correct me if I'm wrong, we're still planning to.
That's what I'm talking about, MJ.
No.
Me either.
But
I must be done, but I can't tell where I'm
Go.
supposed to be.
right there.
What's the name of
It's
the
04.
file that you have to open?
The file is, apologize now, hold on. Go to it's BOS agenda packet.
Me too?
Oh, I see, okay.
Yep, agenda packet work session 3 is the main file off the stick, MJ.
Yeah, and
And then go down to 04 FY22 budget request compiled 210 is what it says.
That's what's open, but there's no, what page is it?
It would be page 213. Try 213.
This is just a narrative.
Well, there you go. What's your total number, Noah?
So
It is the same deal.
Do you have a spreadsheet?
no, because that's what we wanted
It
to
looks like-
get together and meet.
There is no
All right,
spreadsheet.
what's your
I thought
total?
it was okay.
I don't have one yet,
Okay.
so that's probably, Jay and I
I'm
were-
finding it in like 3 different places.
No wonder, I
Yeah.
couldn't find any
the
number.
last time I checked, I think it was about 8 million. I'm just.
So.
Jack fell out of his chair.
How much,
Best guess is 2.6.
Now that I don't.
and where were you last year?
Like 2.4, but MJ and I have been, like I said, we've been meeting to get together to figure out 21 before we can do 22. So my purpose is just to kind of paint the picture of what we're working with. And I don't have a final number yet
Keep painting.
on that.
Yes?
If you would accept a budget adjustment so I'm between a rock and a hard place because I don't have my IT budget done yet, and that's gonna take a lot of work.
All right.
And I have to help Noah with his EMS budget, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to get the ERP meetings kicked off.
Good.
So we have one scheduled. But if we don't have a meeting next week, I could potentially move things around and get that payroll adjustment for FY21 done, if you're willing to accept it on Monday.
I don't think we got a whole lot of options.
I'll get it.
Well, and we do, we need some totals, but I mean, and I appreciate the going down through it. Just trying to figure out where we're at, but this year we're doing the administrative recommended budget, it's okay. I mean, and you cost a lot, but yearly.
And I want to
Got
explain
confidence
why
in
we
me,
cost a
you know?
lot.
Yeah,
Through
you
this
do.
detailed workup.
Keep going.
So I'll be quick. The lodging and meals due to the pandemic EMS symposium was canceled this year, but that's a really cool, it's a conference that we've gone to for many years, and that line item helps fund that. Seminar and tuitions, Clay, correct me if I'm wrong, the professional development, I've got several EMTs that have expressed interest in going to paramedic school. They're from Madison, they volunteer, we've hired them. Tuition for that is $8,799. So I'm looking at trying to help fund that.
How many people? Is it 8,000 total or is it per person?
Per person, yeah.
And how many people?
Right now it's one to two. The second one's a little on the line, but it definitely didn't get well.
How many per year?
Two. I think that would be
How long does it take?
a year.
It takes a year?
It's not a contract.
Yeah, I mean, didn't you do down this path, Steve, that you've incentivized, you've gone ahead and paid for it, but you make them sign some type of contract?
2-year commitment for
2
the
years.
volunteer side.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
And this we could maybe include folks needing EMT training, and I don't know, I think it's a good thing to have. Rest of these are pretty straightforward. Office supplies, more people, more calls, more use. Vehicle equipment and fuel. As long as fuel stays low, we're in good shape. If it doesn't, it's a different story. 6009 vehicle maintenance. This is huge. This is going to be a big change. From last year, $55,274.93 is what Madison Rescue Squad spent on maintenance. I haven't put the numbers together, but since the MOU is in place, we're right at 5 to 6K change. So I wanted to make sure y'all were aware of that.
Normally I comment that number shouldn't go up drastically, but we got rid of 2 trucks.
Yes.
And a new truck coming in about 90 days and will take care of one of the 6.0s.
That's a good point. And with our, like the agreement you just approved with the preventative maintenance and warranties, that should help with that. Uniforms and wearing apparel. I need to outfit our folks with extrication gear. I'm staying clear from the firefighter side of the house. I have zero interest in any of that. It is in the job description. But one of our primary job responsibilities is to staff Squad 388 and go out on entrapment calls or vehicle crashes. And right now our folks don't have the needed gear for that. So that's $7,000. It's lightweight, fire retardant. You don't really want to use structural firefighting gear with that. It's too heavy. It's kind of an in-between is the easiest way to explain it. Yep. I do have a request for 5 sets of fire gear. Our lieutenants are required to have firefighter 1 certification and be part of that. And that's $9,500. And I'd like to stagger that through each fiscal year to try and outfit. Books and subscriptions, straightforward. Medical supplies, I think for the most part, we're good. We are picking up the oxygen tab. Last year it was $5,853. But with the new MOU, we're paying for that now. Office equipment, office furniture, the rest of this is, I don't see any big changes. Is it okay to talk about capital? Is this a good time, or do we want to come back to all that? Okay. So I'm going to put in, we have a grant cycle. The RSAF grant is opened up. We've had great success with that. We funded Medic 20, the 80/20 grant. But we need a life pack monitor for response 1, another CPR chest compression device. And the AEDs in the county are old. They're at 9 years. 10 years is really when you want to try and replace those. So all 3 of those I want to put in for a 50/50 RSAF grant for that. The The match price is what's indicated on your sheet. The DEA, big changes coming down. There's a lot of uncertainty, but what we're doing currently, we're not going to be able to do. Historically, we've been able to get drugs for free from Culpeper Hospital and UVA drug boxes from UVA and Martha Jefferson. All that's, I'm being told, is going to change. Steve can help fill us in on that if needed. We're going to be responsible for controlling controlled substances. That's a huge deal. And medication storage as a whole. So the surveillance camera system, access to the building, an alarm panel, all that's going to be needed to be able to control that. I don't think we're going to be impacted until after FY22, but I really want to make sure that y'all are on board with that's going to be an expense. The ambulance shelter, I initially decided I didn't want to do that, but with the uncertainty of the building, we've got $450,000+ of apparatus sitting outside. So I want to move forward with adding an additional. There you go. And that's going to.
Your additional shed?
8877.
Okay.
And then power to that. And I don't know what that'll be. I'm thinking less than 1,500, rough guess. So that's everything I have in detail, and I'll get with MJ and we'll get up, final budget numbers for you. Sorry, I don't have that, but doing the best we can.
Anybody got questions for Noah?
No, not really.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Warren us down, no.
I know it's a lot.
It is. Let's get a total one to us. We know. We know it's an emerging business in Madison. We know we've got need for it. We're getting more and more calls. Let's go from there. Anybody got any questions for Noah on any of this?
No, we're going to hear from Steve in a little bit. He's going to tell us how much of this he can save. The squad can save us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank y'all. Appreciate it.
All right.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Let's do the library. All right, Bonnie. Good. Come up and tell us about your budget request. So Jones, you.
It was the finishing the last.
Mine is honestly, bottom line, same sad story as everybody in here. We've had no fundraisers outside of one letter drive. We are used to tightening our belt. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's getting a little tighter than I'd like. I was sweating bullets trying to figure out how we were going to actually make this. And the only other thing that I wanted to remind the board of, we still haven't, the reason we asked for the 8,500, and I know it's a reach, I know it is, but we still haven't reached the goal we set in 2014.
With the safe?
Yeah.
So what is the remaining what is the 152, 100?
That is where we should have been 2 years ago.
But I thought we started, 2 years ago, we started the correct funding.
No.
I've got the budget.
It's almost 7 years worth.
Yeah, because I knew it was
What did we
sort
give
of.
them last year?
If you can hold on a second.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the number from 2019, and that was 131,972. And that was an increase of $7,200.
Yeah.
It was just,
What did you remember what we gave you last year?
I'm looking that up.
It was 143,600.
143.6.
all
But this was the number goal that we were supposed to reach by
That's true.
5 years ago.
2019, I think.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like
Yeah.
that. And it got extended.
Yeah, to make the payments, to catch up. Okay.
And 85 was what we agreed on at that time. And that was what the increase needed to be on an annual basis.
Yeah. This gets us to where they wanted us to be 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're not happy with that either, so that's their.
I have not heard anything about it.
Hey.
I'm here telling you what we've got.
No news is good.
Yeah.
Y'all doing stuff over there?
We're doing curbside every day.
Okay.
We're doing story hour.
Tell the numbers for the Groundhog Day.
Yeah, and Gary got to take groundhog numbers for our story hour online was 101
People looking.
people watching. So that was more than if they walked in the door, I couldn't accommodate 101. You know, so we're working. Miss Fran's doing a great job. We are doing what we can do. We are in line with the rest of the state as far as being open. We were open from July to December 24th. And then we went to curbside.
Okay.
Then we went to curbside. And because the numbers here started spiking again.
Oh,
You know, we're trying to isolate our books, we're trying to isolate ourselves, we're washing toilets, we're doing things that that isn't quite in the contract.
anybody got any questions for Bonnie and the library?
You're still having a lot of students in your parking lot
Yeah,
using Wi-Fi?
always. It's always. We are faster, we are better.
It was 5G.
Oh,
Yeah,
What?
we have,
5G.
we're, yeah.
Sure.
We used, that was E-rate funding. That was federal funding that we applied for and got so that our parking lot is wonderful access to everyone and everything. I wish I could open my doors, but I'm doing what the rest of the library community is doing.
Yeah.
So as soon as I can, I promise I will get us back open.
Y'all hold meetings and, your board meetings, are you doing board meetings?
Virtually
No.
and literally by email, 99% of them. We've had,
I'm not getting any of those.
and I don't know, I will get back to you and get, Diane is our president. So I will get Diane to get them to you.
Called me one time and got my email address again, but I have not heard anything since.
Yeah, I'll get it to you, Charlotte. I will.
All right, other questions for the library?
You have any?
I only got one number to throw out. If you look what we got last year for Madison County in the whole budget, our portion was 0.034%. So I think you're getting bang for your buck.
Yeah, very good.
Okay,
Thank y'all very much.
thank you.
thanks guys for listening.
Keep sticking with it. Steve, you wanna go?
Sure.
Let's go.
How you doing, guys?
Bye.
Good evening. I'll be short and sweet. First of all, this is the first opportunity I've had to come before you since the MOU was signed, and I want to thank each of you for your consideration with that. I think the arrangement we have is good. I'm only hearing positive things. Certainly, we have got nothing but praise for Noah and his staff, and I think everything's going well. We're hearing a lot of positive. So I want to thank each of you. I think some of you I've seen and I've done it, but I want to thank you publicly. You've allowed us to do what we want to do all along, and that was serve the community. Couple updates. I want to tell you that, as I mentioned during Noah's comments, and I didn't mean to butt in on him, but we have a new truck on order. We also received a 80/20 grant. Should take delivery of the truck. They say by May 1st, we're figuring June 1st in reality. But when that happens, one of our oldest truck will go out of service. We've already taken 2 trucks out of service just because with the increased staff across the street, our trucks they were costing too much money to keep on the road. And we originally had planned with the grant anyway to replace 2 trucks. We just prematurely took care of one of them. But the one truck that we have, it's a 6.0 motor that's been a nightmare maintenance-wise, will go away when the new truck comes in service. So then we'll have 3 fairly new trucks.
What do you do with the old ones, Steve?
Well, right now, we're in the process of putting the one truck out on bids. It's tough to sell the ambulance.
No, of course.
But we try, one of them, the oldest one, we're basically stealing parts off of to try to keep the other ones together. The one truck, quote unquote, according to the mechanic, needs about $6,000 or $7,000 worth of maintenance on it because it says it has rust in the lines, and that's possibly gotten into the who knows. But it wasn't worth the risk for us to spend that much money knowing 120 days later we had a new truck coming in place. So if you know of anybody looking for a used utility truck, we'll take Madison Rescue off of it, but we can, be glad to accommodate. So they're F550s. So unfortunately, they got a 6.0 diesel in them. So that's is not something. Yeah, as long as they're parked. The other thing is that we're in the process. We're applying for a grant also on a 50-50 basis to update the only truck that we've got that does not have the power lift stretcher as part of the MOU. We're hoping to get that. And we should know by July 1st as to whether or not we receive that. But we have one truck in our fleet that does not have that. And as part of the MOU, we agreed to do that. And that's what we're moving forward to do. Finances wise, we're not asking for anything in addition other than what's currently listed in the MOU. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
It does, so you go down into, in your descriptions, you're covering insurance on those ambulances?
We are, sir.
And then the purchase of the new ambulance?
Yes, sir.
The maintenance, we're still covering?
That's correct, sir.
All right,
That's correct, sir.
No, there's questions for Steve?
Yes, so Steve, how far behind are you guys in fundraising over the?
Well, we've only been able to, we've had, whereas normally we would have our 2 largest fundraisers in May and September, which are the steak and shrimp supper. Of course, obviously we were not able to do that. Normally during the winter months, we have a brunch every month. So in essence, since February of last year, we've had two dinners. We had a brunch in February prior to the pandemic, and in August we had a drive-through chicken dinner. That was we sold out in about an hour. We sold 600 pieces of chicken in about an hour and 10 minutes.
So it's affecting y'all's fundraising substantially.
Ironically, it's affected us on the fundraising side as far as meals and so forth. Our fundraising, as far as our fund drive letter and donations, we're up about $10,000 this year.
Yeah, I'm not understanding sometimes the fundraisers that I support on an annual basis. I supported them this year. I stroked a check just as if I was going to the event. I just don't understand why the appeal from the nonprofits shouldn't be, hey, I know we can't have our event, but
Well, one thing, we were later this year. we normally send our fund drive out the last of April. And with all that was going on with the unemployment rate as it was and all, we just didn't feel like that was the appropriate time to do it. And we were July sending it out. And quite honestly, that may be a better date because it was much more successful. People may be more concerned in April about having just paid income tax and that sort of thing. But anyway, we were up about right at plus or minus, right at $10,000 increase over 2019 in our fund drive.
I'm glad to hear it.
Anybody else got any questions, Steve?
I have a question.
Yeah.
2 questions. Is that your most accurate way, the Steve Grayson at Coppernet? Because I've got a bunch of.
Yes, it is.
That's the best way to get it.
Yeah, either that or my cell.
Okay, I just want to point something out. So we haven't actually gotten your FY20 pass-through funds from the state yet. We need to work on that.
I know. Well, I know
Your
you.
deadline, I already confirmed.
Whenever you get, whenever you've got a few minutes, let me know.
Are those the 4 for life?
That's correct. That's what we're talking about.
There's some question about.
It's actually about 15, 1 or 2, something like
On
that.
my list. I just want to tell you, because it's another like 20 down.
Yeah. Well, then, like I said, come May or June, we'll have to do this all over again.
Yeah, I mean, you're due for FY20 and FY21.
I don't think they've released it. I don't think they've turned loose 21 yet, have they?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, you're actually eligible.
Yeah. Well, you had said that you need to get with me. We need to talk, and I'm just waiting. I know you've been extremely busy, and so whenever you've got a few minutes,
Okay.
I'm pretty flexible. Just let me know, and I can meet with you at any time. Because like I said, we can certainly use those funds.
All right.
And we did receive the monies from the county for the reimbursement on the PPE, and we thank you for that as well.
Anybody else got anything for Steve? Steve, thank you.
Thank you, guys. If you ever have any questions, feel free to call me.
MJ, send me an email, get that money. We need to get that money.
It's a question of what expenditure. The numbers, please.
Yeah, come on. I ain't worried.
Afternoon.
You're asking for a whole lot more than regular.
Exactly what we asked for last year, 82.
What do you have to say?
For yourself.
I mean, I don't know what to ask you.
The rescue engine we purchased 2 years ago was a 10-year note. We're probably gonna have to be paid off next year. We're looking at 2 more apparatus projects, maybe a third. 2 of them for this year, 1 of them for the long range. Fundraising was down last year as far as the normal mechanisms. However, we had about a $60,000 increase from what we budgeted for different reasons. We got a couple of the states, a couple of people who struck us huge checks. The one fundraiser we had last year, the big raffle in the spring, we actually made money on that because people told us to keep the money. We didn't have to have the event. So citizens of Madison County really stepped up to the bar, and we didn't see a big hit. I actually saw an increase in a lot of places.
Thanks for letting us use your station yesterday, working with John Shear.
That's a count.
I don't know what to ask him. The fire company does an outstanding job. I mean, it's, I don't know, I think the more appropriate thing to say is thank you. I mean, you'll do fantastic.
Right. We appreciate it.
Anybody got a question for Brian?
No.
Give him more time, come on. Got anything else going on?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there so I can't remember how these radios go. Is the fire company applying for the radio grant?
Good call. Yeah, that's something good to bring up. The fire company is applying for the AFG grant on behalf of the county. The contract's in place. I've already signed that. That should come up due for payment on the application side sometime around the 12th. That's when the grant actually closes and goes into review and all that good stuff. It's gonna be $1,000 between the EMS and the fire department. We stand to get right at $730,000 if we get the full load.
And that's also in partnership with Green County?
Correct. Greene County is actually, we've actually applied on their behalf as well on a regional status. Their radios ran right at 940,000. They have 3 fire companies. So you're looking at about $1.8 million between the two counties.
Is there any local share on that?
10% match,
So the fire company local share will be paid by whom?
the board.
The board?
Mhm.
The board.
I hope.
So is that anywhere in the numbers?
No, that's what I came to the board with about a month ago now.
This is just part of your full
Right.
radio project.
Correct.
So it's part of, it'd be paid for.
This is the subscriber units for the radio system for fire and EMS.
10%. Good deal for that.
If we can get it,
I mean,
even last year, their max payout for a region was $1 million. Even if we get $500,000 out of this, it's going to be good, really good. So, and then we can apply next year for the rest of it.
all the tower sites going there?
Still waiting on DOF to get back with me for the Hughes River site. They wanted to review that lease. He said it'd be a week or two. They have to get their lawyers involved. So we're working through it. And Hoover Ridge should be in front of the Planning Commission this month. And we'll see where that goes.
The guy can come up.
So when's the balloon test again?
The balloon test for Hoover Ridge was the 14th, excuse me, of January.
Yeah.
They had a red balloon.
Yeah.
Up there by it, and
It was a soccer ball. I thought it was going to be a lot more impressive than it was.
That's all.
Yeah.
He has pictures of that if you missed it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can send you pictures of it.
Yeah.
You can also get those in
And they'll also be in the Planning Commission packet.
All right.
And to be quite honest with you, you really have to look forward to seeing it. I'm sure with a tower there, it's gonna be a little easier to see, but I went around to the schools, bus shops, down the fairgrounds. There's a couple of places it's gonna be really obvious, obviously. But for the most part, you're really gotta be looking forward to know that it's there.
We need this. I mean, the balloon was up there. I drove to this like very similar track to you. It was up there. Something we need. Public safety. I mean, 400.
And I also had a conversation with Shenandoah National Park today. They are also rebuilding their system. And I just out of curiosity asked if they'd be interested in Hughes River site. And their answer was yes. So we may have some opportunity there to kind of share some funds and get some money back on that immediately.
So y'all don't pick on Brian later. I don't think we got plans for
So I'm sorry, go.
Please.
Did you get some pictures of the balloon test from O'Neill Road?
Yes, they did.
That side?
They did. They couldn't see it. Basically, when you rode up O'Neill's Road, the trees kind of blocked out. Those houses right there on the backside of Hoover Ridge, I'm sure they're going to be able to see it. But it's, again, it's under 199 feet, so you're not going to have the lights on it. You're not going to have all that. So that was one thing we were really adamant about, is not getting above that threshold to put lights on it, this, that, and the other.
Thank you, Ron.
All right. Thank you.
Tell you, we're doing real well on time. Hobbs, start up there at combined pool, please.
These won't take long. They're about a 1 line. And Madison Combined Court, they suggest funding next year. Spreadsheet package. Pretty straightforward. Magistrate, we put $500 in the budget every year. It's commissioner accounts, same as $720. The EMS council said they would ask for level funding next year. They did tell me, and I'm sure Nora is up on this, but they are starting online classes. Pre-COVID times, the idea was that all EMS training needed to be hands-on and in person. So some of the regulatory agencies backed off that. So these guys are looking at help set up and the way with training our EMS folks. So this is a benefit. Some of these non-profits. Environmental prisoners. I'm not sure that the classes is going to be earlier, but more advanced prisoners and such in the wilderness. Regional jail, is having a good year in the city of Madison County. They requested him about $35,000 in pension and medical. I got them, last week, this is the fund balance policy. They have a minimum fund balance policy, but they don't have a maximum fund balance policy. So that's what the government should do with it. We can keep an eye on that. Revenue Verification Commission, this is $1,000 per year to that state. Mr. Robertson's. Forestry Services, a formula now, we're going to go from the state for this. And no official request from the wage group that I can recall, but it's $50. But they're all fairly straightforward. Like the questions, at least go back and find answers to questions.
Good job, Kevin, over there at the jail.
Oh, yeah, we've been working hard.
We got any questions on these? How's the Rappahannock River Basin?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, let's see, the last meeting, the way they held it, I had a hard time hearing. It was, I guess, Senator Hanger was leading it, and he was sitting so far from the mic, and I didn't have a chat button to say, I can't hear you. I mean, I sat there for 2 hours and barely heard anything. So I don't have much to report. I tried.
Efforts noted.
2-hour meeting. Seems like CSB.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, straining.
Johnson always spoke about that, and it was a good one to be on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We didn't end up giving 4-H anything from CARES, did we? So I don't think we did.
And what happened to the program? Wasn't the program being spread
Yeah,
for funding?
they shut down.
He said he hasn't gotten anything from them.
You shut down. The 4-H and follow up.
Madison County, Rappahannock County did their Wednesday program up there all fall. Paid them $1,000 a week.
I mean, a Wednesday program.
Well, no schools are on Wednesday, everything's virtual, so they have kindergarten through 6th grade, 7th grade, or whatever. They bus them to the 4-H center, they have classes up there, and stuff like that. They have the computers there so that they can get homework done and stuff like that. And the county government in the fall gave them the money out of the CARES Act to pay for it. In the spring, the Path Foundation picked up the money for it. And there was probably about 70, 80 kids involved. Then they took high school kids for counselors. And they paid them. They got a grant from the Headwaters Foundation to pay for that.
Wow.
And they actually did it on a matching thing, like their family future thing. They give the $100 every year, starting from kindergarten up through. Well, they did that for the high school kids that were counselors. So that if they saved some money, instead of spending it, if they saved their money, then they would match it or whatever and give them college money.
Did everybody know about those?
No.
That's like the best thing I've ever heard from
You
Rappahannock.
wrote about this.
You should read Mad Rock.
That's really,
Got a story in there about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
that's like the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
It really is good. Right. Good. Thank you, Charles. All right. We're done with that. You got anything else, Hobbs?
I
think we,
You can go down to mine.
yes, I think that's where we're at.
Okay,
Auditor.
Or we can go home.
page 5. Yes, yes. Nobody, so boring. Nobody wants to. Anyway.
Auditor.
So, so auditor is actually not just auditor costs, it's things, it's for our CAFR It's for something called a cost allocation plan. Both of those payments are made to Robinson Firm and Cox. It's for outside services related to the audit from Mary Earhart. And it's also to our actuary, who's named Milliman. Our actuary is named Milliman for OPEB valuation services. So on the county audit, I'm kind of at a disadvantage because I haven't seen the bill yet for the last audit. I would go up a little bit from wherever we were off that bill because of so many things. I anticipate them having to spend a lot of time on the CARES money, and we have 3 large capital projects which tend to increase audit fees, especially if they're debt financed. That's on the high end. I had a request in to David Foley and I hadn't heard back from him. So it's possible that it could go down a little bit. Because if you can see our expenditures have been around 31.4 for the last couple of years. On the cost allocation plan, we signed 2 to 3 year contracts. Does everybody know what a cost allocation plan is? It's a plan where they take our overhead and move it around based on rules established by the federal government, and we recover from the State Department of Social Services federal money, additional. We usually recover about $15,000, somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000. We have to do an annual report related to that. Right now, we have a 2-year contract in place which will cover us up through the FY20 numbers, which aren't done yet. What will be done in FY22 is FY21. If we sign a 3-year contract, their proposed rate on their contract is $4,200 a year. I mean, that's a hard number. For Mary Earhart, we just got an engagement letter for her from her for next year, and she estimates around $8,000 to $10,000. If you look at what we paid to her for last year, we were at only around $5,300. I've never seen a bill so low, so I don't want to just take out all the money out of that budget. We did everything remotely last year, and I picked up some additional work that I hadn't done in the past to try to get it done on time. So that may be why it's so low, but I feel like we should kind of stick in her range, which is around between 8 and 10K. So if you add the 8,000 and the 1,500, that's where we are on that. OPEB valuation services, I actually got at the FY21 budget wrong because there's 2 pieces to every OPEB valuation. One is doing GASB 75 updates, and the other is the full update, actuarial update, which only has to happen every 2 years. So our bill that we just paid was $5,300 plus $2,500. It goes like that. So it's $7,800, then $2,500, then $7,800, then $2,500. So next year it will only be $2,500, and I've confirmed that with the actuary. I actually have a draft engagement letter from him, so that's a hard number. What's the next one? My finance. Do you want to talk about? Hold on. This is a little bit more involved. So I do have to bring up that, I'm still in a quandary about 3 versus 4 people. I'm assuming I'm going to have a 4th person in the finance department. That does not mean that that person is going to be paid what I'm currently paying my part-time person or my temporary person at. That was like an emergency situation where I needed somebody immediately and I paid to get them in place as soon as possible. I'm thinking, so the thinking is, my thinking is if I have an accounting manager, the accounts payable person can be kind of ratcheted down a little bit in terms of skill. In other words, you don't need to have somebody like Candace doing accounts payable if you have an accounting manager in there. So I think you can go down, and I think the job description that I have yet to put together will justify this. I think you can go down in rate to around $13.50 an hour. That's where I would see that job. That being, if we put that person in there at that rate, the total cost with dual, which is the way I normally, I can't even read this, the way I normally budget, I always budget with dual, is about all in with budget with benefits is about 43.7 to add that person. I have to say, not knowing whether we're going to have a fourth person is making it complicated for us in terms of trying to plan for a move into 414, because right now we don't have office space configured for 4 people. And we don't have the outlets, we don't have the furniture, we don't have any of that. So not having an answer to that is, I mean, you can make up your mind later on, but if you decide to put 4 people in a space that's configured for 3 people, and you do it after we actually move, you're going to end up spending a lot more money than if you make that decision ahead of time. Because you'll have to tear up everything that you have to tear up everything you just put in. So that's what we were trying to figure that out. I'm just gonna put that out there.
One, let's just, all right, one. Bob's gonna add this to the list, I guess.
Okay.
Is everybody is everybody okay with, I mean, I think we need to configure for 4 people down there.
Absolutely.
Figure it out. I'm sorry, it's not more space. It's gotta be better where you're at.
So there's this issue about whether we could put Bruce in a different office.
There you go.
I just need a resolution on that, because I'm supposed to get like wiring information to Jack or to Bruce next week. And we don't know where we're going.
Somewhere, a different place.
I don't have no problem with it at all. It's
okay. So yeah, it would make sense to have him. My only issue with where he's suggesting is that he's right near an outside door, and he has a lot of. I mean, Bruce often has $20,000 of equipment sitting in his office. So if he's going to be right next to an outside door, then he needs to lock his door.
And also, Mr. Hobbs, I don't know, you may have a use for that office, and I don't want to jump in front of something else that you're doing also.
We just need to figure out how we're going to do it. But I'm just, so then what I did is I asked for 260 hours of overtime. That might be a lot. It's 2.5 hours per week for 2 people, based on a lot of things we have going on, which is so from what I've heard so far is we have to completely pack up 302. We have to move. We have to clean out that storage building, and I'm in the middle of an ERP process. So with data conversion. So I mean, there's going to be some need for extra hours.
Yeah, Troy Coppage and what's his company? Blue Ridge. So they're gonna help with that.
Okay. So I'm just scrolling down. I'm not going to explain all of them. On C, I did want to talk about C a little bit, because I have in here, having a hard time reading this. There's a certification that Tilly would like to get. It's called PHR. And it involves classes, testing, like a test, a registration fee. And it's somewhere around $1,000. We came up with $995 as a range. And it would take her basically a year to get that.
What is for HR? What is?
It's a professional in HR. I mean, it's like,
HR, okay.
There's 2 certifications that most of the local HR people have, and this is one of them. We thought this would be the easier one for her to get first.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, and she's very interested in it too, which, yeah, okay. And then I just put in $1,600 for 2 people, which is it's $800 a person, which that's not actually that much. I mean, I try to take a couple training classes a year, and they can, depending on what they are, they can be, $200 for a half a day. So the self-study ones are a little bit cheaper. It's not. I've been so busy so when I started here, I actually took a pay cut, because I took a pay cut in exchange for a training allowance.
And a wonderful working environment.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just telling, I do think that training is important, and it's built into the job advertisement for the person that's coming in. And there's a lot of good classes that you can get both through GFOA and VGFOA. So a lot of them now are remote, especially from GFOA. GFOA is offering a lot more remote classes. I just think it's,
We are all
Okay.
for this.
Okay. So that's, I only asked for an extra $350. So dues, I just wanted to say, because this is a little bit more, one for the 219 is for SHRM, which is for Tilly. And I have 2 GFOA memberships, 2 BGFOA memberships. And another one that I would like to get into is VAGP, which is Virginia Association of Governmental Procurement.
$70.
There's a lot of classes that you can go to for that. Yeah, so, okay, so then software subscriptions they're a big one. The Thompson Grants 360, I used that this year to do some of my CARES work, and Brian Gordon has used it several times. I had talked to him. He would like to have that in place for the radio grant, because that's a federal grant. And I would at least one more year like to have this in place, because I have a single audit next year for CARES. So that's, I'm requesting a renewal on that. I don't have CARES money to pay for it. Although it's possible if we have CARES money left over again, if by like this thing renews in August, that we would, if depending on what goes on with that $40-some thousand, we could use CARES money to pay for it.
Monday.com.
Okay, so Monday.com is something I subscribe to, and it's not set up, but I hope to have it set up very soon. It is a workflow management system, and it has the ability, it interfaces both with Bruce's help desk software and with Outlook, and it gives you like it gives everyone the ability to track their work on a daily basis in terms of both goals and what they did during the day. And my hope, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this, was to be able to start generating monthly reports so that everyone can see what the finance department actually does in detail. Because I think that there's a little bit of a disconnect in terms of understanding what we do and how long things take.
But I also think it's a positive thing. It keeps.
Yeah, I mean,
track.
it's definitely, it's a management tool, and it's becoming increasingly difficult, especially with Bruce, because Bruce does 2 things. He's the point man on the problems. Somebody's got a problem, he goes and works on it. But he also has become involved in a number of projects where people call him on the phone and get him involved in projects that are, that can be 6 months long. And we're kind of losing track on all that. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So that's, here's what I put out to you. I have enough money in my budget to pay for it, give it to me. But, give me 60 days and let me produce a report for you. And then you guys can decide whether you like it or not. Because I think I can generate something that will be helpful to everyone. So that's what I'm saying there. Office supplies, I just asked for $500 more. And I asked for $750 in office equipment just because, well, I don't know, but every time I've ever moved in my life, I've always gone out and spent more money. You know what I mean? It's like stuff doesn't fit and whatever. But the only other thing that I would like is my desk is falling apart, my personal desk. It's made out of chipboard. Half of the drawers don't work. I have no storage space. I would like a new desk that's bigger, and I would like a U-shaped desk similar to what Jacqueline has. I can tell you that I have in 302 Thrift Road, I have the smallest desk.
Roger's got a whole bunch of drywall screws.
So we've talked about Roger. I was actually talking to Roger because I had some different ideas, but my first idea is there is a very good used office furniture place over in Harrisonburg that sells high quality office furniture. I would like to get a quote from them. I have not had the opportunity to do that yet.
Roger and his drywall screws don't work. We'll go for that. What else you got, MJ? We got
That's it.
Moving. All right.
Okay.
Anybody got questions on finance for MJ? No. All right. Let's go to juvenile detention.
Okay. So
And all right, hold on, just so it doesn't come back up. Everybody's in favor of this 4th person.
Yes.
Everybody good? 4 people. Livingston's going somewhere else. Livingston, be flexible.
Okay,
That's
so
what.
I need to get to
finance, our juvenile detention
Yeah,
today.
I'm not there. Okay,
And they shake that.
Got it, yeah, whatever.
okay, so there's something that's,
Good luck.
it's hard to understand what I did here. Okay, so before you look at the number up top, if you look at, every year I try to show you what the annual assessment was and then what the true-up is the next year. And for FY '20, that 87,959, that should be a negative. We got an $87,000 credit in FY '21. We haven't even fully utilized it. We still have $10,000 left over. I'm not sure whether we're going to be able to carry that forward or whether we're going to get a check for it. But this is what, as we've talked about before, we got hit really bad in FY '20 because of the child that was in that facility for close to a year. And because they use a 3-year rolling average, it takes time to get the number back down. I was just talking to Nan. I think probably the budget version that I have for the juvenile detention center is 93,530 for next year. I need to make sure that I'm not sure I have the version that I should have, but it's close enough and it's still not fine. I would anticipate another year of credit on top of that. I think it's going to come down more, but I don't want to budget that. I want to be conservative. So when we get the final number, we'll let you know. But one way or the other, we're either going to get $10,000 back this year in cash, or we can move that forward to the 93 because we didn't fully utilize that $87,000 credit. That's why we had all that money that we could put in contingency because of that credit.
All right. Line of duty act.
Okay. Okay, so line of duty is made up of, line of duty is we carry insurance because the state requires us to pay line of duty benefits to beneficiaries if somebody in a hazardous position dies on their job, basically. Right now, we have 3 people that are receiving that kind of coverage. You can receive that. VRS provides that coverage, or you can opt out of it and find an alternative. We did that several years ago, and we went into Baycorp's plan. So the way Baycorp charges us is they charge us a rate for number of employees and number of volunteers that's like an annual rate. And they also back charge us based on some kind of actuarial calculation for the piece that they basically assumed when we went out of VRS and into the Baycorp plan. So I haven't done the insurance. The way they get these number of users is from our insurance renewal. I have not done that yet. So these are last year's numbers and they can change. I suspect on employees, they're going to go up because NOAA has added more EMS people. The volunteers may come down because volunteers have been coming down every year because of the rescue squad. The past liability is, so the rates on the current part are using Baycorp's current FY22 rates. They have not figured out that actuarial number yet. So this is just an estimate, basically. And the 750 is actually, that probably should come out. That's all I have.
Anybody got a question on this?
I did talk to Baycorp about this.
Go
Debt service?
Debt service.
149. So this isn't actually the transfer. The transfer on the general fund into the debt service fund is the total amount of expenditures because the general fund pays for all the debt service. So the debt service for next year is supposed to be $1,727,000. If you look at this, how much you care, you look at this, our total debt service in FY19 was $1,488,000. And then what this says is our total debt service last year was $9,425,000. But that's because we paid off two pieces of debt, and it's in those numbers. Without the repayments, the number last year would have been $1,437,408. Our debt service for this year, which is fully paid, is $1,052,829. Next year, our debt service will be $1,727,498. That's because of those two. Well, it's because we borrowed $16 million more in debt. That's the main reason it went up. Davenport's assumptions, there is a debt stabilization reserve, and Davenport's assumptions say that we will use $93,978 of that debt stabilization reserve to pay for this $1,727,000. But it's still a big bump from last year, as you can see, or this year. I would just point out one more thing, or two more things. So the literary loan is paid off this year, there's no more. So that went down $319,000. And then the other thing, the capital lease on the election equipment, that next year is last year. That's the $27,532. One more year on that. The Moore building, which we had treated as rent in the FY, you're going to see a supplement for this, but we treated it as rent in the FY21 budget, and it really probably should have been treated as debt service. So next year, the rent is going to be treated as a capital lease, and that's $21,113. And that's 15 years. That doesn't get paid off till 2035. Anybody got any questions?
Anybody? All right. All right, Valerie.
Yes, sir.
Valerie, BPA transfer.
I'm sorry?
I think, isn't it you? You got Valerie Ward, BPA
Oh, VPA.
transfer.
I think UVA.
Not
I'm sorry.
so.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, BPA, I don't know.
MJ.
I don't know. Give her a microphone. Wherever it's comfortable.
If the green light's on here, I'm on.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. All right, I thank you for letting me come and present to you the Department of Social Services budget for 21-22. The budget for my department this year is $3,103,843 in total, with a local share of $596,846. That is a decrease in the local share of $1,617. It has been quite an interesting year at the Department of Social Services to continue meeting our community mandates, to provide both protective services as well as benefit services. We have had to pivot and really look at creative ways to keep meeting our mandates. We have kind of changed the way we implement services, but have continued to meet those mandates. Of interest in that, our mandates from the federal and state government have not just continued, but there are new programs that we're being required to administer. And one such program will impact my budget for the coming year. Fortunately, we are being given federal and state dollars to implement a prevention program effective in July. So in compliance with the Family First Prevention Act, we will be implementing in-home services, which will include a prevention social worker within the department. Again, all of this is contingent on General Assembly and appropriations and that sort of thing. But I'm very excited to add a more concerted effort to provide preventive services in the community to impact both my budget within the department as well as the associated Children's Services Act budget. By that, I mean, if we're able to intervene with families before there's a crisis or an emergency, hopefully we can head off more costly services as mandated through foster care and those other programs. I don't want to go in more depth than you're interested or have time for today, so I'll just open myself up to questions.
Well, this is CSB. Have you thought of anyone? We've been trying to think of someone to fill that vacancy. How about how we pulled you from social services? Do you have any ideas of maybe another county department or the sheriff's office, or what do you think?
I've been at a loss. I've really tried to think I hadn't really thought of another county office because I don't know if and when that's ever considered a conflict or anything. But I tried to think of any parents we work with that have either previously or are currently, receiving some sort of services that might have the knowledge base.
Okay.
But we've not come up with anything yet. It's definitely on my radar to be kind of having that in the wings to be thinking about.
Anybody got anything for Valerie? All right, thank you. Jim McGrath's next. Jim, you mind waiting for 2 seconds?
Nope.
We'd like to start yelling at Tiffany for a couple minutes, on CSA. We'll burn through our yelling up and then we'll get to you if you draw a flag. All right, everybody get ready. Tiffany? Oh, good. One opportunity, come on, Em.
Yeah.
What do you got?
All right, good afternoon. Thank you all for having me here this afternoon. I have sent out the budget that I am requesting for fiscal year 2021 and 2022. I've presented, this is a Thomas Brothers report, the system that I use as of last year, expenditures that were spent to kind of give an idea of what we're spending monthly in expenditures for kids. But what I'm presenting for our budget for next year is kind of a cushion for the local end of it, just because of, like Valerie has implemented regarding some in-home stuff that's going to be happening for preventive services. But we're also looking at coordinating with the CSB in a LINK program that is to work towards substance abuse, to kind of proactively, like I said, get ahead of preventing kids coming into care. And so we've been working the past couple weeks with the CSB in Zoom meetings and emails and how this is going to work, referrals, to hopefully lower the chances of kids coming into foster care whose parents or guardians are using. So we're kind of doing what we call as a test drive with this service. So I wanted to put somewhat of a cushion within our budget for that service that could be implemented in the upcoming year. So, and along with the Family First Prevention Act that could be coming through effective July 1, which is going to possibly go into our budget. That's going to be more CSA dollars because it's looking more into the congregate care portion that originally was covered with Medicaid services, but there's going to be kind of a chunk taken out of CSA. This has been going on, like I said, we've been kind of discussing this over, I think, at the last budget meeting, and then with COVID hitting, it definitely didn't happen, but right now they're looking at a launch date of July 1. So, but like I said, it can still be changed again, but at least want to have the board aware of this service, the prevention service, to be coming July 1 possibly. So, but for the local portion at $850,000, like I said, I wanted somewhat of a cushion because we just never know as to what's going to happen. 5 kids come into care in one day, and then we have 3 that are on trial home. with my budget, it's just so back and forth. So, but as you can see over the past few years from 2018, what our local budget has been, I think I've done it significantly well, along with my workers, to try and keep the budget down. We're being very mindful of using Medicaid services rather than accessing CSA dollars. But we're also seeing a struggle in finding providers because a lot of them are either booked out months ahead. So we're having to access providers who can get a evaluation done immediately. So for court, we can provide that information. A lot of our providers are moving away from being Medicaid funded because they don't like doing the paperwork that's involved with it. And it's causing them to be put back in getting
reimbursed.
Correct. So we're seeing a lot of providers now moving away from that. So that's also going to affect CSA dollars. So it's really a balancing kind of thing as to what's happening. But like I said, myself and the DSS workers are trying our best, like I said, to access funds that are not CSA, but we've kind of hit somewhat of a point to where we're having to, like I said, go into some CSA funds more than we have previously. But
But you, at this point, you think going up basically $212,000, that's the way to.
I think as of right now, yes, just because, like I said, we don't know as to with these new services that are going to be happening through the state, basically what portion is going to be local and then what portion is going to be state until like I said, it ends up happening. So, and then, like I said, the Family First Prevention is still, you hear one thing in one meeting and then the next meeting, oh, well, we've implemented this is how it's going to be. So until the go-to happens, I at least wanted a cushion to be safer than sorry than coming back to the board and.
What kind of comment do you have, MJ?
Okay, so the first thing is that your local only expenditures are only the local share of the reimbursable expenses. You have not, in those numbers, you did not pick up stuff that doesn't run through the OCS website. You know, there's things that get charged by Celine that are non-reimbursable.
Mm-hmm.
So these numbers are actually, because I went back and looked on the general, and I actually can reconcile from your system to the general ledger because I have to do that for the audit. For 2019, the actual local share on the books was 701,837. The difference between what Tiffany's showing and my number is there's certain expenses that are completely non-reimbursable. They're just like admin, and we pay them 100%. In FY20, the total local was 676,601. Now, in both years, the recoverable the local share was almost consistently 32%. Your total pool, your total expenditures, CSA expenditures in FY19 were 2,178,000.
Mm-hmm.
And in FY20, they were 2,113,000. Through January, what's on the books is 927,000. So if you assume that you paid, like say through December, that's annualized at 1,854,000. So to go, like just assume you're at 1,009,000 for FY21. To say that I don't know what's going to happen and I want 2,750,000 in my budget next year is the problem is we've got to balance our budget. And, you know, if you ask for an extra $700,000 in your budget that you don't really think you need, well, that's a lot of pennies in terms of real estate taxes. So, you know, we get back to this because we've had this conversation before about you have had a history now for several years of that number coming down. And every year you come back and ask for the same million, 2,750,000. So that I know that there's some uncertainty about, you know, what's going to happen next year, but that's a big, like, you know, if you're saying, and I think it's probably realistic that you're going to be around 2 million in FY21, to say you want 2,750,000 in FY22 is that's a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, the numbers that I pulled off are my leaders' reports that I submit to the state. So I know coordinating with MJ to get the exact number is just the admin part of it, which I usually don't access. But
my numbers are, I mean, because auditors pick through these numbers. My numbers are are reconciled to the things that is filed with the OCS. I mean, that's something that auditors go through every year, is reconciling what's filed with the OCS to what's on our general ledger. And I'm very comfortable with my numbers.
So what we might think about doing, and I understand the risk and uncertainty, but the Davenport folks might not like it, but maybe we could earmark some contingency for some amount so that it's.
Yes, I was going to say, I know in the past we've discussed regarding a contingency just in case, which I didn't know if that was something that.
And we've done that since several.
Mhm.
So what Davenport didn't like is, so where we got off on this in the past was that we just earmarked something, not in contingency, but in fund balance. Call it like CSA stabilization reserve. And well, Davenport didn't like that because they thought it was, they liked the just simpler, you know, not with so many reservations. But I would still say it's a simpler solution to take it out of fund balance than it is to try to put it in budget for that kind of money. I mean, that's a lot of money. Like $700,000 is a lot of money.
If we do it like that, earmark it through there, we can utilize this as a tool for budgeting and balancing budget. And it still gives the same protection to Tiffany, and CSA, no matter what.
Right.
It just makes it so that it's easier and we don't.
Still takes a vote.
Yeah, exactly.
Still takes a what?
Still takes a vote. All right. Work something out, talk to these people and we'll get something. Anybody else got questions from Tiffany? I actually hear y'all are doing great up there. Really do.
We are. Our numbers have been really good. I know on the foster care side, we've been doing adoptions out the yin yang. So it's been really exciting for, of course, adoptions and some fostering future kids. So yeah, I mean, good work is going through with all of our workers. So I definitely give kudos to them on their hard work. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bill McGrath, come up here and tell us some things.
All right.
I think I should start by saying that link person that is diverting all those foster care placements is being provided free by the CSB as long as we have capacity to do so. So just throw that out there. Anything else I could throw out there too? Also with me today is Gigi Brown. Gigi is our program or our accounting manager. So if I'm asked a hard question by Mary Jane, I'll just defer it. So I won't have to answer it. Yeah. So
That was good backup. That was a great idea.
Hey, I figured at the end of the day, you guys would go all day long, I assume at this, right? So I'm the last person you want to hear from. So again, our request from Madison County this year is $177,629. Now, if I hopefully will refresh the memory of the members of the board. Last year, we began a process to kind of look at what we were providing to the communities, and there was a significant shortage. And where that shortage occurred was in how much as an organization we were subsidizing transportation and our senior centers. And it was about $1 million. And we made the decision for last fiscal year to make half of that adjustment. And so this year seeks to make that full correction. From my perspective, I just don't think it's right. My staff are paying $1 million a year for us to provide transportation and senior center meal programs to our community that are not funded. So what we have asked for this year in our request, and I know we were a little short last year in about $16,000 in being able to make that first half step. So we did include that, if possible, into this year's half step. The other thing that we did not do this year is we based our assessment on the formularies of 2 years ago, just because COVID with our transportation, we lost $1 million. And so it would just blow all those numbers out of the water. So we just kept that formulary going forward for you. So again, I can talk about the 10% CSB mandated match. I can talk about the 90-10 match for area agency on aging funds, talk about the 2 year ago shortage and those amounts, but those are what the numbers work out to be.
You're going from 110, 113 local match for Madison to 177, 629, correct?
Correct.
How's the thing up there at the arcade going?
It's fine. I think, it gives us a little bit of a presence, but, it is not what long-term we need to have out here. But, I think finding a spot, creating a shop, putting in some telehealth services is really, the one good thing that we've learned through all of the COVID stuff is telehealth is the way to go. And, we are working with some of our other smaller counties to implement some of those more remote sites that, we can share or monitor and staff and those types of things. So I don't know if you heard as well, we were selected for the Marcus Alert implementation pilot, which is I think a very big deal for our community. And being able to divert those calls that now law enforcement and the sheriff's office has taken. And I'm happy we have Captain Estes as part of the implementation team and Clarissa Berry as part of the implementation team from Madison County. So again, good things are happening.
I got questions for Jim. How are things in the hospital?
At the state hospitals?
No,
Or-
The beds.
Beds are not good.
They had shut down even more.
I'm sorry?
They had shut down more beds.
Yeah. I haven't heard anything in the last couple weeks, but it's all cyclical. I haven't heard, usually I'll get a call on like a Sunday from one of the sheriffs or deputies saying, my guys have been sitting in the hospital for 2 days with somebody. What are you doing about it? Knocking on doors and calling people. It's all we can do. I can't invent beds. We are also this year really hopeful. There's a couple big projects besides the Marcus Alert, Adult Mobile Crisis, which is a mobile team that can actually come to a person's home. And again, it doesn't take the place of that, my son is threatening to harm himself. He has a weapon, police response, but it's like my son's ramping up. If someone could intervene before, we won't need police. That program should be coming around in the fall to cover our area again, which would divert a lot of calls. And we've also been in talks with, I think I've said this repeatedly in the not quite 3 years I've been here. We are at such a loss because we do not have a single behavioral health bed for acute crisis in our 5-county area. So any call, it's law enfortement, it's driving wherever they need to go in the state. We had a conversation with the state about a month and a half ago about development of what's called a crisis stabilization unit, which is a short-term residential. Now, the state will not support us in that. Our population base and the number of beds to be financially viable just won't work. But what they have countered with is us to look at what's called a crisis care center, which is, as opposed to a 24-hour program, it's a 23-hour program, which we can divert a lot of people, which I think there's 4 currently in Virginia, I believe that I'm aware of. We've done some discussions with the CSBs where they exist. They're really helpful for that guy who's on something and needs to sleep it off, the kid who just needs to get out of the parents' house for a day to cool off before a plan can be set up. And so we're continuing discussions. Hopefully in the next year or so, we'll have one of those locally, which would be another game changer for us.
Do you have any ideas for board members for us? We're missing somebody. We're having trouble filling the vacancy.
I don't at this point in time.
What about you mentioned the Marcus system? Any of those individuals?
Well, the ones from Madison County are Clarissa Berry and Captain Estes at the sheriff's office. So,
he likes meetings.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
Well, what I'm happy to do, what I can do though is reach out to them to see if they have other people. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say.
We started with Tiffany and Valerie. We're now at you. We're just going to keep on names off of people we have.
If you think of somebody that would be applicable, that'd be great.
Yeah, I will. And I'll be honest with you, we are having the same issue right now in Orange County. It's, well, I mean, everything is so closed up, no one's getting out. It's hard just to even make some of the.
Question, Jim. I don't like the increase.
All right, so I came in here with a little bit of negotiation room in there. Come on, you know, it's.
In the negotiation thing, I can't yell at you about $5,000 or $500. But no, it's,
It seems like you got some vision, you got direction.
Well, I will be honest, because I think the point that really, and I know it's a big increase this year. I think it's unconscionable that my staff are each paying a $3,000 tax, and that's what they're paying. So our county has transportation and meals for our seniors. So I will continue to ask until that gap, because I don't think my staff should be paying for it. Either we don't provide it to our counties, which I think is criminal and it's necessary, or our counties can, you know, step up and I understand it's a big bullet. This is the last, if we make this hurdle, then we are whole. And our increases that we will be coming to you are kind of market, you know, our health insurance went up, we need a few extra bucks.
You see action, you see things coming together and in place, and that brings great value. Jim, anybody else has anything? Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right. Ms. Phipps is gonna join virtually. Livingston left, so that's not gonna help. Not on here. Hobbs, tell us about the county administrator budget while we're waiting. Page 3.
All right, there's, not a lot of excitement here. Turn my microphone on. Got the cost of living, increase as usual. Want to maintain the, part-time clerical pool for, the office, which was very, very helpful when, Ms. Fry was out last summer, if you remember. Want to ask for monies to, support, the broadband initiative. Surely we're going to come into some expenses for that, between now and next summer. Not this summer, but between now and next summer. So I would ask for part of money to cover that. I guess the bigger things though, or we've had this conversation about hiring a full-time person that could be a swing employee to go to registrar or to anybody who has an office that is shorthanded on a temporary basis is more of a better way to address this than people having to pay overtime or getting stretched. And so that I don't have that developed yet. And we've had several conversations about moving to more of a full-time HR capability and maybe assigning that person some responsibilities in terms of procurement, FOIA, insurance and so forth that we can do a lot better on than we have. Do not have, ran out of gas before I got to calculate all that, but develop those as breakout items for the board to consider the first thing. For the furniture, I'm not exactly sure what we're going to need before we move down the hill, but when it comes to this furniture for moving to in the new space, a lot of this is going to happen this fiscal year, so we need to go back through everybody's budgets and talk about maybe funding that this year instead of next year, which might be more appropriate than to embed it in everybody's part of the budget. My desk is fine.
All right.
We have to bring on more people, and Ms. Fry swears she's going to eliminate at least one file cabinet, so we'll see. But
She does.
Anybody want to comment?
I missed 3159. But professional services allowance, what is that?
that's a pot of money for whatever we need to do for the broadband folks. If we need to bring consultants or do something to support that initiative.
Okay.
There's liable to be something, I don't know what it is. It's more of maybe a small contingency, if you will.
Okay, to kind of use wherever. Okay.
And the difficult thing, like a lot of things we get into, we don't know where we're going, but, I guess my attitude, if you want to cast it negatively on broadband, is this is going to take a lot of effort, and it needs to be somebody's job, and it's going to cost some money. It's going to take a long time to get through, and we don't need to be wishing for it to happen on its own if we're serious about it.
They got a whole bunch of questions. Thank you, all. Ms. Phipps there, we're glad to see you back, Livingston.
I was
Yeah,
listening to.
we knew we'd get reaction there.
Alan Phipps from Aging Together said they wanted to let you know that they're here from Aging Together virtually.
What?
And she's on Vimeo, and I haven't done my presentation yet, so I guess I'll wait to be called.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go.
If that means.
Let's go with her. Ask Miss Phil, I'm not on the Vimeo. Let's do the Aging Together presentation.
I don't know how that's gonna happen.
Ask her, is there a way that you can do the go to meeting? Is that that's the easier way to do this, isn't it?
Definitely.
Go to meeting, the code is 131-710-869.
I'm actually assisting in her presentation as a board member, so if there are technical difficulties, I can present. If needed.
Okay, I'm asking for the email address, and then I'll send you.
All right.
Send the whole invite to her. But that's okay. Let's say we.
Got everybody in the room working on that.
Is your microphone on, Mr. Jack?
Yeah, it is. It's working well.
Okay.
I just sent an email.
That last gentleman that was speaking, coming through the speakers in my car, he sounded like he was on professional radio.
Oh, yeah, Jim McGrath. He's on his game.
Oh, Miss Phipps, you're with us. Thank you.
And Valerie says that she's here to assist you. Unmute, please, but please proceed whenever you're ready. No, she's unmuted.
Ready to go?
Yes, ma'am, whenever. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thanks, Ellen. I just wanted to stress that many nonprofits and organizations struggle to figure out how to implement their mission in the pandemic we've been all living in. So to point out how Aging Together has continued to meet that mission, they have continued to meet virtually throughout the pandemic monthly here with the Madison team to look at how Madison County can best support the needs of older adults in the county. They have produced a resource directory guide with critical telephone numbers and information on COVID-19, as well as other necessary resources, such as food pantries, transportation resources, caregiver support, and a lot of other things. The resource guide actually was distributed with the food boxes at the Riva Mobile Pantry. So I want to say about 400 resource guides were able to be distributed out to people as they received food in December. Aging Together is also very proud to have taken the lead in getting iPads for Seniors program developed, where iPads were provided to residents and staff in nursing homes to allow family members to be able to visit their loved ones when they couldn't physically see them. They could have FaceTime or virtual visits. So that was a really impactful program that Aging Together spearheaded that really impacted a lot of families during the past year. Aging Together has also provided monthly caregiver and educational webinars using Zoom. I want to say Ellen and her small staff was able to really master Zoom technology quicker than many of my other organizations I'm affiliated with to make a lot of those networking opportunities more available to Aging Together participants. We also provided some scam and fraud education and awareness to seniors in Madison County, which as folks were in their homes more and more available perhaps to take calls, kind of manipulating them during the pandemic, we really made a concerted effort to provide more education to seniors about those risks. Aging Together organized for AARP Virginia to donate COVID-19 items and supplies to the Madison Senior Center. A close partnership exists between Aging Together and the Senior Center, which I think really helps make that link between services and the seniors we're trying to get resources out to. Overall, Aging Together has assisted the Madison Senior Center in setting up programs such as painting sessions and caring crew letters. That's just kind of what's happened during the pandemic. There are plans already in the works for future programs and services. Aging Together is working on developing a mailing of critical phone numbers to be sent out to homes to older adults in Madison County. We're not sure whether yet it's going to be a postcard or the full resource guide directory, but that's in the works, and we're excited to be kind of partnering with our veterans serving organizations to do a virtual Veterans Benefits Summit this month. So some really exciting programs are being offered right here in Madison County to get those services and educational opportunities to our senior citizens. Thank you.
Very awesome. Any questions for Valerie or Ms. Phipps? Valerie, thanks. Your comments on this one?
No, I was just wondering if you were going to have a public comment section.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Anybody else got anything? I think we've crushed out the list. I do see Sean Grace here. We do need to go into closed session. What are we missing?
Just want to point out that we do have some things that are kind of hanging, but they aren't ready yet. In addition to the ones we talked about today, and folks you might not hear from anyway, we built upon it. We're trying to get something. Schools are having their year-end week, maybe. I'm not expecting a lot of change from that. They're going to try to come forward with a lot of increase in the courses and school buses. So, no, nothing from the school yet. My scheme would be to, as things come in and they get nailed down, then we'll start putting them on the calendar for discussion at the end of one of the more regular meetings. Just to, I know, no, at some point, the number of meetings we have to go to. Let's try that. See how that goes.
Work for everybody. Health department's due tomorrow, I guess. Whatever. Is the health department's phone still not working? The local, like, I'm getting multiple complaints that their phones are down and no response at all, so. I'm just curious. Yeah.
Yeah, they want you to email info at, and they answer you real quick.
They're not on our phones, right?
No. Anybody else got any comments about today? Anything y'all want to go back to by chance? All right. Public comment.
So it's not really a public comment, I was under the impression, I guess, that you were gonna have a budget workshop next week.
Yes.
I have a rather pressing matter that's come up this week that, we've talked to Tyler and we have our kickoff meeting scheduled on the 17th. And they've come back with this really involved questionnaire that's like IT governance related. In other words, it's not about Mary Jane and the people that are actually working on the software. It's about how, as an organization, who's going to be ultimately responsible for making decisions and resolving conflicts and things like this. I've talked to Chair Deckard about this, and they suggested that I take a look at a few things, draft something, give it to them on Monday. But I would really like to get the board to look at it, and I was hoping you could look at it next Thursday. If I won't be able to give it to you probably until Tuesday. Is that something you might consider at the next board meeting? Because they're really saying they want this document before they do the kickoff.
Tuesday is our board meeting.
Tuesday. I mean, that's the next time.
It's like I'm stuck. I don't have a.
No, but I mean, when are you gonna get it into it?
Well, I haven't even started working on it, and I have to get it to CB Digital. They have to look at it. They told me they would try to look at it on Monday. So, I mean, I'm not gonna have anything before, at the very earliest.
Get it to us as early as you can. I mean, if you can get it to us on Monday, I'm sure all of us will review it prior to, Tuesday and we'll go.
It's really about kind of like the way it works, the working group before, but it'd be more like probably like a committee with a board member probably on it.
All right, send it to us, the ones, the real ones that need to, and I'll just follow. It's still you, Cardi, MJ, Hobbs, you on there, and Miss Murray, and Brian Gordon. So it needs to go, that committee needs to be copied and their input as well.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's a pretty good group of people.
Yeah.
Send it to us, send us on Monday, and we can definitely, if we've got comments, we can talk about it on Tuesday. I'll see you.
Okay.
Especially something pressing that we definitely like to get this thing, we don't want to hold up the 17th.
Well, it's so the Tyler has to go first. So if we don't do it on 2/17, it pushes everybody back.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
Let's get it to us as soon as possible. We'll definitely review.
Thank you.
Send a copy to the committee too. Other public comment.
Okay.
I did have a guy yesterday call me. He wants to be on the 6-year road improvement plan. Sorry. That's next week, that's what I'm bringing, not that, but Walker's Mill Road. He wants to add that one from Kerry in Bowden. He said he was gonna call more of y'all. Who else is we plugged on?
Terry.
In Bowden. All right. Anything else? We do need to go into closed session. Let's do that. Thank you.
I move that the board convene in closed session. Any closed session. We're going to do that 4711A1, discussion on the assignment of promotion, performance, promotion, Salary district. A7, consultation with legal counsel and approvals by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation or a session consultation and briefing and open meeting with the first respect to negotiating or litigating posture of the public body, and 3, study C, 2.2-3711A29 for discussion of the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract or discussion in an open session with reference to effective bargaining position or negotiating strategy on the public side.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, Quincy, let's take 5 minutes.